Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am preparing to leave for Blizzcon, and I'm in fact in the midst of doing what I do when I leave for trips like this, where the channel's going to be sort of like I'm not here for the next 7 days or so, and the stream's going to be bad. And it's quite a stressful time for content creators, of course, because there's lots of stuff going to be happening, particularly with BlizzCon coming, where you would like to make content and make videos and things like that. And people want your opinion on them, and I want to talk about these things, but I'm unable to do so because I'm there. But at the same time, I'm there, and I'm meeting all... BlizzCon, for me, despite the recent controversies, is all about meeting people, especially the American guys, because I live in Manchester, England, and so I can't get to see a lot of the US guys. They can't really make it to PreachCon, despite the huge amount of people from the US and Australia who do come to PreachCon, which is amazing. Obviously, I can meet much more of them at BlizzCon, and also meet with friends and other content creators that typically I don't get to be around physically. We talk online, we talk through chat rooms and things like that. So for those of you who are going to BlizzCon, I will be around. I'll be everywhere. I tend not to tie myself to work-related events. I think I will be doing something with a couple of content creators before BlizzCon, but I'll announce more when I'm confirmed to be there. But other than that, I'll be around the con. Please come and say hello. That's why I'm there. I'm not there for what Blizzard's going to announce. If I cared about that stuff, I'd stay at home, watch it, and make videos and things like that.
That's the same as with me, man. I don't go to conventions for the announcements, man. Like, I don't even know why I go to conventions. Oh, right. That's why I don't go to conventions. Yeah, hey.
I'm there to meet you guys. So pay attention to Twitter, particularly. Typically, I'll be in the Hilton Bar in the evenings. If you're coming out or you're alone, this was a big thing the last couple of BlizzCons, is people who'd come to BlizzCon on their own and were not sure what to do in the evenings, come down to the Hilton. I'll be there. Just come.
That's where everybody gets drunk.
We get a group of people.
That's about it.
Spend most of the night just chilling.
That's the whole thing.
And we all have a shared interest. So you'll typically meet friends and stuff there. So please come and do that. One of the things I do try and get done before I go away is prepare as much content to go out on the channel as possible, so that everything's...
That's actually one of the good things about being a YouTuber versus being a streamer, is that, like, if you do YouTube content, you can just make like 5 videos and then just not do anything for 5 days. But if you're streaming, like, I can rebroadcast a stream, but I think people would probably figure that out. I'm not sure. Maybe they wouldn't. But, like, I think they would probably figure it out. And obviously, like, you know, it's not really the same thing. And YouTube, it does make it a little bit easier for you to have to, you know, take vacations and take time off, right? Pre-recorded stream. Yeah, this stream actually is pre-recorded.
Relatively normal from a viewer's experience, right? Because for a lot of viewers, it doesn't matter that I'm not here. They just want to watch some videos and things.
Yeah, exactly.
But while I was browsing things, because what I wanted to do was gauge what the current community feeling is about a lot of things before I got to BlizzCon, because there's a chance I'll get some one-to-one time with Ian Hazacostas. We have found out today that they are allowing some interviews to take place, which is a bit of a surprise. I haven't heard anything about me specifically yet. That's still up in the air as far as I'm concerned, but for them it might be just like, no. That's definitely a possibility. But one thing I did want to do was gauge what's happening around the community. And it brought me to the point where it's like I could make like 9 or 10 different videos about all the things I learned today to tackle and try and correct, or to try and throw my voice into the mix to a lot of the discussion that's happening with the game. And it's to the point where it's like it really is kind of worth a ramble, which is what this will be. So if you're not interested in that, then fair enough.
Okay, rambling about WoW. Let's go. I'm ready.
The game. Things I'm hoping to see. We're likely to see the new expansion at BlizzCon or some announcements.
So you already know he's pissed off about the game. How do you know that? How do you know that? It's because he's not playing it. Like, he's not playing the game. He's playing something else. Like, that means he's pissed off about the game.
Of the new expansion. And all the little things that people are hoping are going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm confident in saying BFA has been the worst expansion Blizzard's ever released for World of Warcraft. I think it's been the least successful financially for them.
Wow.
Based on the fact that maybe things like the Dreadwake and the subscription things and all the amount of in-game store items, which you've definitely seen ramp up. Not that they didn't have in-game store items for a long time, but they've definitely ramped up over the course of BFA. So financially, maybe it's okay. It feels like it's not, but we don't know. We don't have any metrics.
Yeah, we can never tell.
That's my take on it. Anyway.
Nobody ever has any idea.
I feel comfortable with that position. And exactly what is Blizzard going to do to try and turn this around, which is probably, obviously, from a business standpoint, what they want to do. Or are they going to try and double down on Classic or all these kinds of things?
I hope so.
So The big one
Okay, here
recently
we
has
go.
been loot, and I'm not going to go in the direction
Yeah,
you
loot
probably think I'm
sucks.
going to go here. A lot of people were pissed off that I wasn't more angry at the corrupted loot system. A lot of people expected me to be outraged and furious at the corrupted loot system. And I was surprised at myself that I wasn't, and I reflected on it a little bit and kind of came to the conclusion that it's because I didn't really expect anything better. Sure, I had hopes.
That's one of the best things, right? How can people be outraged if they already expected it to suck dick? It comes out, it sucks dick, and they're like, "Wow, this is what I expected." That's the hidden bonus of failure, is people never get mad. People at the beginning, people get mad about you for fucking up. And like you can see this with like kids, right? It's like at the beginning, you know, middle school and elementary school, you know, the parents are yelling at the kid, fucking pointing at his report card, like, "You need to do better. This is not good enough. You need to do better. You are in my house. You need to learn to school." And then by high school, like 12th grade, they're like, "Oh, wow. You know, juniors didn't show up to English class again. Okay, well, it's more the same," you know, and they just kind of get used to it.
Certainly after the time I've invested in Classic and how much fun I've had there chasing specific items, the joy of receiving that specific item.
Fuck yeah.
Knowing that I set a goal, I went for it, I
And you
completed
get it.
that goal, I could tick it off my list, and then running down a list of self-made goals that the game didn't require of me, and then investing far more time into doing that than I have into BFA.
I wonder why.
Hoping that something like that would happen. The lack of outrage from the corrupted system was basically like, when I saw it, I was like, meh. Probably that's where they're going with it, and that was kind of the limit of it. It was more of a kind of
apathy.
Yeah,
what a great thing for a game.
Because I'm not surprised anymore over BFA when systems are announced that I just kind of think, well, that's not very good, and that's it, and I move on from it from there. It's not a lack of passion. It's more.
No, I'm not surprised if it sucks anymore.
It's not surprising.
It just sucks. That's the way it goes.
Again, we don't want to get rose-tinted about this, and I looked back through my
Thanks, Mark. I
catalog
appreciate that.
from when BFA was launched. Is the outrage and furious anger that I had a lot of the decisions Blizzard made coming into BFA, and how they tried to change them very, very quickly. And over the course of the expansion, we've seen rapid changes put into place eventually once they finally realized that we were very unhappy with what they were doing, is that they tried to course correct severely several times. So you can imagine they had
and that's what makes sense. Obviously, that's what makes sense.
All over the place while they tried to steer the ship in a direction that made some sort of sense, while the rest of us were, as far as I'm concerned, clearly seeing this storm in the distance and going, "You're riding into a storm. Like, turn the fucking ship around at least."
Well, that's the thing, is they don't even fucking know that. Like they're going into this, and everybody, I feel like, knows that it's not good. It's like if there's a new system in BFA, people just expect it to suck because Blizzard doesn't understand what players want. That's fundamentally the problem, is that Blizzard, their vision for the game is different than what players want. Whenever you break everything down, whenever you separate everything else out, that is the issue. What they want the game to be is not what the players want it to be. That's why players aren't surprised whenever something like this happens in BFA. Now, obviously, it seems like they've been doing a better job with that lately. Now, I'm very, very hesitant to say that, but I do think that, in general, the second half of BFA has been corrections from the first half of BFA. And I think that, is that going to be a lesson? We'll find out this weekend. We'll find out. Because they will announce some of the new big systems in the next expansion this weekend. And if the new big systems are just more RNG bullshit, then I think people are going to get kind of tired of it. Like, even more so than now. There will be people, I think, this time around, that if the new expansion is just more RNG bullshit and, you know, it doesn't have, like, those things that you can work towards, etc., they will probably not buy the new expansion. Especially with Classic being out. They will probably just not buy it. And that sucks. It does. That does actually suck. And I just hope they can get their shit turned around. I think that's all there is to it. I hope they can get their shit turned around.
Right? We're going to have a bad time here. While we even saw some doubling down of comments. I specifically remember the Azerite one. early in BFA, where people were crying out when Azerite armor was a real rarity, like the good stuff, and we were like, can we please have some other source of this armor rather than praying to the loot rolls to get something good and repeatedly not getting anything good? Like, this doesn't feel good. It feels terrible.
No, it doesn't.
This isn't fun. This isn't interesting. This isn't an RPG. It's just hoping and praying due to limited restrictions. And then they posted, in fact, we're probably going to double down on how hard it is to get good Azerite. And reading that post and having like the joy sucked out of me is like, are they not seeing what we're seeing as players? And certainly, I can look back at my own catalog, which I would never change, and you can see from day one of BFA, we were talking about class pruning. It's like, these classes don't feel good. We're covered in RNG procs and all these kinds of things. So when the corrupted system was announced, I was kind of like, whatever. It's another forced grind, which I could have predicted. If I was to guess what the new
another bit of bunch of bullshit
would have actually been, not what I would have hoped it would be, I would have said it's probably a required grind, it's probably RNG, and there's probably more pitfalls than there are benefits to it, and probably it's really complicated, which is kind of where I'm going with this little tale here. Reading through the general forums and MMOChamp and Reddit and all these kinds of things, and reading through the discussions, what we have is the same thing that we kind of saw when Master Loot was removed, which is a lot of people who, quite frankly, don't understand how a lot of the systems in the game actually work.
Yeah, I wonder why.
They think they know how it works based on what they see, which is fine, and it's totally fair.
It's not fine. That's not fine.
A lot of that doesn't come down to the specific system.
I don't think that's fine at all.
If you come away from it, what we're actually seeing here, or at least what I'm seeing after reading through all these pages and pages of things today, is a lot of people who are yearning or hoping for just a simpler way of things being. I see a lot of people crying out, it's like, can we not just have standard loot drop? And the reality of what I'm seeing...
Yeah, just give us something that we can farm.
So there's a lot of people who are upset
That's it.
that Warforged and Titanforged is being removed because they're casual players. This is catering to the raiders. You've got the raiders explaining, like, no.
Doesn't cater to them at all. Like, what do you mean? Like, this doesn't cater to anybody. Like, it just makes the game better. Like, Warforging and Titanforging isn't fundamentally a casual or a hardcore thing. I don't get why people say that. It doesn't seem like that's true at all. I'll read the rest of it, okay? I will. All right, let me go ahead and I'll take a look at this.
Although it's a higher item level, in fact, because of these corrupted procs, we'll probably want to wear lower level gear for a while until we get that specific mystical piece of gear. So it doesn't work
that will never drop
either. So all these different elements are crashing together. While simultaneously people like myself and Blizzard are having to make these videos or long posts to try and explain this yet again brand new system that is coming into the game.
That's really good though. You think about it as like a YouTuber or as a somebody who's making videos, these new systems are awesome. That's content for the next week because nobody fucking knows how to use it. So you're going to have everybody trying to look up and figure out how the fuck is this supposed to work. And then, you know, that's your content for the whole week. It's great.
Which is needlessly complicated. And what I see overall, if I take a step back and drop away the specific arguments of where it's focused right now, be it corrupted gear, be it master looter, be it gear swapping and Mythic Plus, be it all these elements.
Yeah.
What I'm actually seeing is a lot of players who can't keep up with how many different systems, complicated, overly compact, really unnecessary baggage, almost bureaucratic systems that keep coming into the game on like a quarterly process at this point. And everything they knew 3 months ago makes no sense 3 months later. And then 3 months after that, everything they relearned then has gone and changed again. And everything is really complicated because we
just
keep
like the
bringing
gear,
in all these
it's
brand new
completely
systems.
replaced.
And every expansion, they have this insane idea of not iterating on the game, keeping it simple but looking for small, minor ways of improving, but instead dropping entire systems and then bringing in a whole bunch of new systems to replace them.
Yep.
So that means that players who played in Warlords of Draenor and even played in Legion come into BFA, for example, and are like, I don't know what's going on. And in fact, by the time I've learned that, it's probably changed again. And there's another big system added on top of it.
It's complicated for players. Like, that's the issue, is that it's just simply complicated for players. Like, you go in there, you've got to learn all these new systems and everything. And I don't think that it's like a good type of complication. You know what I mean? Like there are some complications that are good, some that are bad. For me personally, I think like the way that Path of Exile makes things complicated is more fulfilling in a way, but Blizzard's complications with these systems I don't feel like are as fulfilling. Complication is good, but not if it's unnecessary.
In order to... It feels like it gives the illusion of some sort of depth to the system.
Yeah.
Or whichever system it is. I'm not specifically talking about loot here. I'm talking about just how the game works. Some depth to the system. Like, it feels like it has depth now because it requires a video. It requires a third-party resource. It requires a massive blog by Blizzard. It requires the feedback of hundreds of thousands of people in order to get it to where it's a workable state. And
that's about right.
What I see is people just be like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it. I just wish it was simple. I wish it was just a simple system. The biggest question I want to ask about my World of Warcraft characters: what are my best stats? What's the best trinkets? You know, things like that. And they should be able to work
complicated, huh?
In game. So if I play like a poison, if I go into a talent tree that's heavily focused on poisons for a rogue, then the stat that gives me more poison damage should be the best.
Yeah.
That's about as complicated as I want it to be to get 90% of my character's stuff together. Right? That's all I need it to be. Which kind of takes me back to around Mists of Pandaria, where it just came down to how you played that character. Like, building the character and gearing it, you could look at an item and say, oh, that has a lot of mastery on it. That's a good stat. I know I'm wearing a good belt. Whereas, certainly now...
I feel like Azerite gear is kind of the same with that. It's just that the Azerite gear is much more complex, and you have to think about it a lot more than you do now. Like with this stuff, it's very, very simple to get into. Like, you don't have to invest a lot of time into it. You don't have to think about it a whole lot or anything. The Azerite gear is kind of the same, but it's not as evident as like mastery or haste or something. I think the game has always had like some degree of complication, but I think where it's at right now might be a little bit too much.
Now we're deep into having third-party websites that a lot of people, including myself, physically pay for outside of the game.
Wait,
in order
what?
To figure out if gear's good.
Who the fuck pays for a website?
Means that the system doesn't work. Like, if that's where we're at, the system
what the
clearly
fuck?
Doesn't work, and it's a bad system.
Yeah, well, when did this happen?
The yearning for simplicity seems to be widespread.
Wait, raid bots cost money? What do you mean? To skip the queue. And people pay for that? Do people actually pay for that? Oh my god. Wow, I had no idea. We were so sick on simulating fights. It's kind of... Yeah, I mean, like, what is... Jesus Christ. It's really worth it if you like to min-max. Oh, yeah, it's... You know, so important to do 1,000, 2,000 more DPS on a fight that's basically mechanically based, and, you know, the mechanics are what wipes you 98% of the time. Yeah, damage is the most important thing. Yeah, okay.
Although it's not being said out loud, so perhaps I'm reading too much into this, but when I see these posts of people saying, no, it works like this. Hold on a minute. No, it doesn't. It works like this, and it could be referencing PvP, raid lockouts, anything. And they're having to like go into big diatribes, which is what I've read today, of people trying desperately to explain to one another how something works, yet they're all conflicting information.
Yeah.
And it clearly says to me,
sounds like Twitch
we've gone
chat.
Way too far. If I was to do, say, a strategy guide for World of Warcraft, like a written, published strategy guide, let's say I made it for Legion, I would have to go into daily quests and then into legendaries and how the legendaries work and how the combinations of them work, and then the upgrade quests to increase the legendaries, how to wear 2 legendary quests, how then to mix them with the Warforged Titan Forging system, and I'd have to explain items like the Arcano Crystal. Why is this so powerful despite the fact it was an item first in the game, even if it doesn't Warforge or Titan Forge? How does that work? How does Warforged and Titan Forging work? Well, it works one way with certain items. With weapons, it works slightly differently. Gem slots, this is how they work. This is how much they're worth, which I guarantee a lot of people listening to this right now aren't exactly sure how much a gem slot is worth.
Well, it depends.
So this changes how much item level is relevant to the item you just got, even though it seemingly has the best stats. a worse item with bad stats, but a gem slot could actually be better for you by a significant margin. If you did get a Warforge or Titanforge, it could work this way. Then comes the Nether Crucible. Nether Crucible is slightly different, so you're going to have choices there, but each of them have different weights. It's not particularly clear which one is better.
Oh boy, here we go.
It doesn't tell you how often they proc, so you can't even do some simple math to figure that out. And then you have all this stuff, and that's just for Legion. You come into BFA, practically none of those systems exist anymore.
Yep, all
now
new
I have
shit.
To explain to you the Azerite system. Warforging and Titanforge.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's the same fucking thing. They just bring in a bunch of new systems. They're basically the same thing, but they're different, and it's just a new set of bullshit that you've got to deal with. This is the way that it works, and I don't know. I feel like there's. Do you guys think, here's an honest question, do you guys think the game and like gearing and understanding the game now is too complicated? Well, let me just ask you that on like a very, very basic level. Do you think that it is too complicated? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think most people do. Yeah, I think they could do more to kind of tone that down a lot too. I agree.
Forging remains. Now that works the same way, but now we don't have armor slots in 3 of our armor slots. Now we have Azerite armor. By the way, they can't Warforge or Titanforge. They now fall into specific bandings. They walk into bandings that you work that way. On top of them, there's about 250 to 300 traits that could be on these items, yet only 1 or 2 of them are significant. So let's look through those. Now you haven't got those 2 items, so which is those 2 traits on there? So how do they then work coinciding with that? On top of that, we've now got the essence system. You've got a choice of about 20 essences that you can probably implant into your neck. You have to achieve them by going through this system to do that.
Retail, by the way.
Now you've got a good set of gear. However, we've implemented a system called the Benthic system. The
I can't forget about that.
Lower item level, yet it carries these procs. How powerful are they? Just by reading them, can't really tell you, but we can mathematically.
Is he just doing this off the top of his head?
The website tells us actually that these items are significantly better what you could get that by defeating the last boss on Mythic difficulty, one of the hardest bosses ever created.
Yeah.
And the loot that drops in there isn't as good as these braces you can craft from doing world questing. I know it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it does. How do you acquire those? Well, that's a daily grind of farming pearls. Pearls is going to be a good thing. However, what you want to do is then build on alts. You want to use your alts to get pearls, to buy items, to send to your main character, so you can use the pearls over there to increase the power of these items here. However, don't increase the one, even though you found the correct Benthic
See, he's
slot,
starting to smile, dude. He knows how ridiculous this shit is.
4 belts. You want to wait till you get the specific belt that has a proc that's a gem slot. Once you got that one, that's the one you want to upgrade. Don't upgrade any of the other ones. That's a waste of time. Of course. Keep sending pearls from alts in order to figure that out. By the way, on top of that, we've now increased a corruption system. The corruption system goes on top of all those other systems. So we want to increase that as well by managing how much corruption. Now, this gear that you're going to get that's an upgrade for you is actually going to debuff your character and give you some sort of negative effect.
Of course.
A lot of people seem fine with the fact that this gear is going to be permanently debuffing their characters. I don't know why, I don't understand it either, but they seem perfectly fine that their new gear is actually negatively, in fact,
I think it's stupid.
Now you have a corruption value. Now you can choose how much corruption you want to go on top of that, but there are some items that reduce the corruption, meaning you can micromanage that. There are going to be static values for how much corruption is on per item, but it's still an RNG roll as whether it's going to be a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 corruption level that's on that item. And I know some of the people listening right now aren't even aware that this system exists because it's only just been iterated upon.
I can't wait for people that don't know the system exists to equip the corruption gear and then just get themselves killed all the time. Like over and over and over. Oh, why I didn't look, I don't see this mechanic in the dungeon journal. Where is this? Like, I honestly am surprised that Blizzard even did the corruption stuff because I feel like players won't understand it. Like, they're not going to understand it at all. Like, somebody needs to put a fucking, they need to put a beat behind this. This guy can be a rapper.
Be able to use your cape. Now, your cape says sanity, but it's going to now be just crossed out and say sanity and corruption. Because they couldn't figure a way of doing it the other way. It's most likely going to be still tied to AP in some way, so you want to keep grinding your Azerite power.
But we can't have PvP vendors.
Have to do specific content that you vastly
because players can't find out where they are.
And then that's where we're at. And all of those things are very real that I just talked about. All of those things are very, very real. And you can imagine the guide being like this thick to bear all this in mind. Yeah. So even if people have played World of Warcraft for 15 years or whatever, like me, or however long the game's been out, it's like I don't know what's good anymore.
No, nobody
I don't know what's good anymore because each system that seems to be developed for the game has this illusion of depth, which ultimately comes down to I need to find the answer mathematically because I can't figure it out for myself. I simply can't.
That's one of the worst things about it, what he's saying here, is because, like, in Classic WoW, like, it's very easy for you to tell, like, if something's making you do more damage or not, because there's less variables. But in current WoW, you can't, a person cannot just look at the Azerite traits and come to the conclusion themselves. And I think that's really what the issue is that you can't actually figure that out and see, okay, this is what, this ability does, this is what this ability does, etc., right? And I think that's a big issue. You know what I mean? And retail sounds absolutely horrible. Yeah, of course. And I think that's the problem. Is that in Classic WoW there are complicated elements of the game, but they are self-evident in understanding them by playing the game and understanding the game. The Azerite traits, the only way that you can figure out how good the Azerite traits are is by mathematical simulation. And I remember they got rid of armor penetration rating back in Wrath of the Lich King for the exact same reason, because they said it was too mathy. And if that's too mathy, then why the fuck do people need a NASA-level computer to simulate what their character is going to do on a boss? Like, how do these two things meet? How do these two things match up? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like they're kind of the same fucking thing. You are much better than a BC, though. Well, yeah, they are. But at the same time, like, people being better at the game doesn't change the way that people want to interface with the game, I think, in terms of, like, the complication. I liked armor penetration. I thought it was cool. I didn't think it was too mathy, but if Blizzard is going to go with that philosophy, how the fuck can they explain Azerite gear?
Anymore. I can't figure it out for myself. It's too complex. The whole system is so convoluted, and so much busyness is involved with it that it actually just ends up, like, annoying you to the point where you just throw it all away. Like, I have no interest in this stuff. And I think that's ultimately where a lot of people are. We talked about connection to character and connection to items. I know I feel a lot more love for the bow that I got from Diablo in Classic than I do for any item that I have in retail right now. And the reason...
Doesn't have Rock the War. So here's the thing. I would be fine with all of this complication if overcoming it meant something. It means nothing. Like, I'm going out of my way because, for what? What am I going out of my way for? Like, I'm going to get this really, really good gear to do a little bit more damage to kill this boss that, can drop gear that's shittier than what I already have. It's not fun. Like, the thing is, like, in Path of Exile, for example, I get motivated because I want to play. I want to play more. What do you call it? I want to play more of the game, right? I want to be able to complete Uber and Elder. I want to be able to kill, this, that, or the other thing. And in Classic WoW, I don't really think that happens as much. And I think that's really what the issue. Where'd you guys go? Just a minute. They ran away from me. See if you can invite Ian on a stream to talk. Yeah, I wish I could do that. But here's the point, right? Is that, like, I want to go out of my way and... Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. I lost you guys. All right, I'm good. More from farming old content and retail than new content. Yeah, it's like if there was a reward for this new content that was as meaningful as the rewards in Classic, then I think that all of these complications and everything would be entirely fucking worth it. People would love doing this because they would know that I need to learn and figure out all of this stuff, and the knowledge that I obtain will give me the power to overcome my enemies and get better items. But the issue is the reward structure is broken. You do all this work, you try as hard as you can, and you end up doing all of this fucking math. You turn yourself into a goddamn fucking physics professor to figure out how much damage your fireballs are gonna do, and you kill a boss and it doesn't drop the shit you need, and somebody else doesn't do any of that, and they get better gear. That's the problem. It's not the systems, it's the rewards. People would climb a fucking mountain. Think about what people are doing in Classic. How many times have I farmed? Like, realistically, like, how important and how big is the carapace for me? It's good, but does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. But the reason why it does is because it's going to give me that advantage that I can only get through that. I know that that is what I have to do to get to the top. And in Classic, or in retail, you don't have that. That's the problem. I need to take a piss again, guys. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. And then we'll get back.
And the items don't matter to me anymore. Their names, what they do, is kind of irrelevant. ultimately, because of the nature of the system, I have to end up plugging it into a third-party website, which is easily, and rightfully so, a step too far for a lot of people.
I would say so.
They don't want to be doing that. They certainly don't want to be sat in a queue to work out what items they should be wearing, should they not be prepared, and again, rightfully so, to pay for the privilege of figuring out whether their items are any good.
Yeah.
And this goes across the board. Coming into BlizzCon and seeing the state of the game and seeing a lot of people who... And we seem to have had that issue. I talked about this a little while ago, is that a lot of people have left WoW.
Yes.
And the voices seem to have gone away. And I've seen some people making the conclusion that a lot of the really outspoken people about BFA seem to have gone away. And drawing from that conclusion...
That's not true. Like, whenever I took a break, I played other games for a while. I played Apex for a while. I played Path of Exile for a while. And this is whenever I wasn't streaming. And so I was literally just sitting there all fucking day doing nothing. And I eventually was like, yeah, these are fun, but I'm going to go back to WoW. And I went back to WoW, and I logged on to BFA, and it sucked. And I said, well, I'm home. And I just like, you know what, it sucks, and we're going to play it anyway. And that's just too bad. That's just too fucking bad. Because you make money off it? No, because I wasn't making money off of it then. That's what I said. I wasn't even streaming. Like, what do you mean? You learn to listen. I wasn't even streaming at this point. I wasn't making any fucking money. I was just playing the fucking game. Yeah, like fucking wide people, like home, wide people happy? Yeah, either, it depends. Home is either wide people happy or fucking people sad. You know, it's not good. But listen, I don't know, man. It's like, yeah, I just kind of... It's like the game sucks in a lot of ways. It just sucks. And like, I can't stop talking about it because like we play the game all the time, but I think about it constantly.
And that things must be better now.
Yeah.
Which I fundamentally disagree with, because let's say during Wrath of the Lich King, we had this enormous group of people. Yeah, a change was made to upset some of them. They got angry about it, but the change went through. Those people left. So the voices that remained either agreed with that system or didn't mind it enough to quit. Yeah. And another change was made, say over Cataclysm. These guys didn't like it, so the group gets smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. And what we've seen over BFA is people getting really outraged about a lot of the BFA stuff, especially for the first, say, half of BFA. And eventually have quit, as we've seen many people go to Final Fantasy XIV. Many people are playing different games. At least
I don't know about people playing Final Fantasy. I think that, like, honestly, you can't really replace WoW with another MMO, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I don't see, like, you have some people that do that, but I think a lot of guys, like, they probably just go and play other shit entirely. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but like I'm just talking about like my friends, you know, like this is like my friends, like everyone that I've talked to, etc. Like, yeah, maybe a few of us tried out Black Desert was really fun for a while. Maybe we try out another MMO for a while, and then we just end up playing like PUBG, Apex, Path of Exile, fucking what else do we play besides that? That's pretty much it. A Fortnite, like what else really? Dark Souls, something like that. Atlas? No, not anymore. But yeah, anyway, like, so yeah, we'd play one of these other games, right? And like, we're not going and playing another MMO. It's like, I feel like WoW, I can't invest myself in another MMO in the same way that I do with WoW. And it's like, unless I can play the MMO 12 hours a day and get something out of it for all 12 hours, then it's just not really worth my time.
See that throughout most of my community. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the guys that are left are either okay with the current system or...
Yeah.
So what we have left are people
it's a good
who
point
are
he's making.
Either okay with the system or not enough for them to quit.
Yeah.
And the amount of voices gets smaller and smaller. So we can some people could draw the conclusions like, oh, they must have fixed the problem because these people aren't outraged anymore.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
answer is, in my opinion,
because they quit.
No, that's not the case. They didn't fix the problem, but the people who it was too much for them have left, and their voices are now gone. And what you're left with is an ever decreasing amount of people who are more upset about whatever change comes next. Mm-hmm. Certainly I read an astronomical amount of feedback, despite the fact that corrupted gear, I believe, should be a hotter topic than it is. If I was to compare it to, say, Vulpera animations...
Because nobody gives a fuck. The thing is, like, here's my philosophy on this, in this corrupted gear. The corrupted gear is going to suck. but we only have to deal with it for one patch. So it's like, we're going to get Blizzard. We're going to be like, all right, you know what? Fine. Fine. We'll take the one patch of bullshit gear. That's okay. And people are only okay, in my opinion, with the corrupted gear because, at least for me, I think or I hope that after this patch is over, well, then maybe it's just going to be gone and we have all the gear back the way that it's supposed to be and everybody's happy. Woo! You know, that's great. So I'm okay having a patch full of bullshit if that means that I can play a good expansion after that. And that's why I think that I'm okay with it, or at least a lot of other people are. Me, but maybe a lot of other people as well. Gear go at 30. Yeah, exactly.
It's not even in the same league as the amount of feedback for that. A lot of people who are very heavily focused on cosmetics and cosmetics only. When it comes to major gameplay changes like the new Mythic Plus affix and things like that, response is actually really low comparative to what it would have been, say, Mists of Pandaria time, which is when a lot of people were looking at challenge modes and raiding and things like that. And in fact, the circle seems so small now that the guys who are left are the guys who are more detached from gameplay than ever before, which is a really bad situation to be in unless you want your game to essentially become The Sims. Now,
that's right. Thank you, Preach. Let's go back. I want to listen to this one more time, okay? I don't like doing this, but like I want you guys to listen to this again.
Animations. It's not even in the same league as the amount of feedback for that. A lot of people are more upset about fixing the problem, but the people who it was too much for them have left, and their voices are now gone. And what you're left with is an ever decreasing amount of people who are more upset about whatever change comes next. Certainly, I read an astronomical amount of feedback, despite the fact that corrupted gear, I believe, should be a hotter topic than it is. If I was to compare it to, say, Vulpera animations, it's not even in the same league as the amount of feedback for that. A lot of people who are very heavily focused on cosmetics and cosmetics only. When it comes to major gameplay changes like the new Mythic Plus affix and things like that, response is actually really low.
Nobody cares.
Comparative to
that's why I stopped making guides. That's exactly why I stopped making guides, Preach. That is 100%. Because I can make a fucking guide. Like, where are my guides? Dude, fucking I'm gonna look at Asmongold guides. Look at this, dude. I'm gonna scroll down. Where's my channel? There it is. Look at this shit. Videos. I'll pull this up. Shut up. Okay, let's see. Oldest. Actually, new. Let's go back to newest. Go back to newest. Go back to newest. Look at these guides. Like, these videos, comparatively, didn't get shit for views. Like, this one got a lot. But a lot of these other guides, like, nobody gave a fuck, man. Nobody gave a fuck on how to farm stuff out. Okay? Like, I was so mad, man. I was furious. And I wanted to make guides on how to kill these different bosses, etc. But it's like how to craft the belt. Nobody gave a fuck, man. Let's see. Where's somebody efficiently farm nourishment? That 200k. That's actually pretty good. This is kind of more of a joke video. A lot of these videos here. The best places to farm love charms. Look at this. Remember this video?
What's up, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I wanted to show you guys some of the...
Look at this, dude. I remember this. This was great. Look at that, man. Me and McConnell on the boat. Those were the old fucking days. It was a long goddamn fucking time ago. And now look at it. Holy shit, man. 41,000 views. 41 fucking thousand views. Glory of the Legion Raider Achievement Guide. 100,000 views. Mythic Plus. Look at this. Mythic Plus tips and tricks.
What's up, y'all? It's me.
This is like how to fucking play the game. These are guides on like this is how to do Mythic Plus. It has 60,000 views. Nobody gave a fuck about this. It's so frustrating to me.
It would have been, say, Mists of Pandaria time, which is when a lot of people were looking at challenge modes and raiding and things like that.
Absolutely.
And in fact, the circle seems so small now that the guys who are left are the guys who are more detached from gameplay than ever before.
Detached from reality.
Which is a really bad situation to be in unless you want your game to essentially become
level 34.
Now, I want to be clear on this. I have no issue with the guys who are really interested in the cosmetic elements of the game. In fact, it's an area I wish they would push much further.
They should do that. Cosmetic gameplay is important, but I look at Classic, for example, and 54, I mean. I look at Classic, for example, and it's so much it's just so much more fulfilling to actually get gear that makes your character better. Like, I care about getting cosmetics in retail WoW, yeah, but I care a lot more about getting cool gear in Classic. 100k equals no views. There's actually a lot of views. No, Drelnar, I'm not comparing it to... it's not 100k to 0. It's 100k in relation to the other videos about different subjects. Come on.
But you can't just have a game where the gameplay is just disappearing and eroding and disappearing, which is where we're at right now, at least in my opinion, because ultimately these guys are going to be left farming transmog in older content, and new content is really irrelevant because these guys aren't really going to touch it until it becomes older content.
That's right.
So essentially, and we do know this happens, and I have members of my community who don't do the current expansion at all.
What?
They don't do it. What they do, the way they play World of Warcraft, is they do the previous expansion with the new level cap. So they will buy BFA, they will level to 120, and then they'll start playing Legion. That's how they work their game. They do daily quests in the current expansion to get very powerful gear, well beyond their means, and then they go and do previous content, and they get transmog and stuff from that, and that's how they play the game now, and we seem to have an increasing amount of people doing that. When it comes to what I'm hoping for BlizzCon, it's not a specific change, and that's what a lot of people come to me with, is like, what specific change would you like? So, like, Master Loot, would you like that to be changed? Would you change anything about the Benthic corrupted Titanforge system? Would you change anything about this specific system? And my answer now wouldn't be that. My answer would be just be simplicity. The systems need to be simple, because we don't need all this bloat. We talked about button bloat. Well, if you compare it to the systems bloat that's in place, and the amount of confusion in the community this is causing is really obscene.
Well, nobody knows. This is the thing. Like, I will ask for advice on how to, like, do something in retail WoW, and everybody will have a different answer. They're like, oh, no, you gotta do it this way. No, you gotta do it that way. No, actually... And, you know, everybody's gonna go in there and, you know, they've all got their own fucking ideas on how they want to handle it. To me, it's like, yeah, I'm fine with all of this complication. Like, if I have to read a fucking book, where's my strategy guide? Where's my Brady Games fucking World of Warcraft strategy guide? I don't even know where the fuck it is. But if I have to read a goddamn book to be able to learn how to play a game, I better get something at the end of that book. And the problem with retail WoW is you read the whole book, you get your PhD in Benthic gear, and then you know what you get? The wrong piece. And somebody else, wow, is this good? Is this guy just got this? Is this good? And then it's this great fucking item. Like, that's the wrong, yeah, you get the wrong fucking piece. I have no problem with these systems. I like, you know, I would be happy if Blizzard took these systems and then they're like, you know what? Here's a new talent tree. Here's a new fucking system. Armor penetration, it's back in the game. Multi-strike, why the fuck not? Spell penetration, I don't know what that's going to do, but we're going to have that too. Like, you just add everything into the game and say, listen, here you go. But the raids, there's a lot of damage checks in those raids. And you've got to optimize your character to where you can actually beat those damage checks. And if you don't get the best gear in the game. And if you don't beat those raids, you don't get that gear. That's how it should be. Blizzard should give people motivation to rise to the challenge. Right now, they don't. There's no motivation to rise to the challenge of getting this badass gear. There's no way to get it. You have to give people the motivation. It's not there right now.
You can read through pretty much any post about any subject, and the amount of misinformation in there that's being spread, not being maliciously. I want to be clear on that. It's not malicious misinformation. It's simply a case of things change so rapidly and so vastly that people just can't keep up. So the knowledge they had 3 months ago, as far as they're concerned, should be pretty up to date. It's only 3 months old. Yeah. Yet it is out of date because of the nature of the game and how much it changes on an expansion by expansion basis. And certainly if they ever intend to bring back people of old, the millions of players who we do know now after the Classic launch are around and are very much alive and able to play video games, we kind of need to go back to a time when the game was fucking obvious to understand from the start.
It needs to be simple but complex. Like, Classic WoW there is complexity in the simplicity of Classic WoW. Now, I know that might sound weird, but there is a lot of complexity to the game in terms of like gearing and like, you know, the hit chance and everything like that. Now, it's not complex on the same level that retail WoW is. Like retail WoW is a lot more complex, but Classic WoW is not simply just getting your best gear and that's it. There is a little bit more to it. And I hope that Blizzard can realize that and they can understand and differentiate, because this is a problem that I think Blizzard has. Is it
Frostbolt?
Yeah.
Frostbolt.
Mm-hmm.
Frostbolt.
Yeah.
Frostbolt.
Okay.
Frostbolt.
True.
Frostbolt.
Yep.
Frostbolt.
Uh,
Check this out.
okay.
Frostbolt.
Yep.
And Frostbolt into a Frostbolt.
Okay.
Into another Frostbolt. And finally, is going to throw you for a loop. Frostbolt.
You know what you call that? Top DPS. You're right. You're right. It's pretty simple, but there is a certain amount of complexity in the game. The complexity just doesn't come out of the rotations. Like organizing players, getting people to stand in different places. Like there is a complexity to Classic. Now, it's not even remotely on par with retail WoW, but the complexity does exist to an extent.
Well, it's simple to understand, where systems didn't need like, hey, I've just got this thing. What do I do with it? Okay, let me go into my diatribe again about how this system works, and then okay, there's another system in place. I've just unlocked this thing. What does this do? Which one of these do I want? Do I need to go farm honor now for some reason? Well, I don't like PvP. But I have
Too
to
bad,
do that
bitch.
now. Yeah, but
you
they
gotta
made
do
it
it
easier because they chopped and changed it, so it's a little.
And that's what it should be. I want to say this right now. What Preacher's saying, complaining about, that's what it should be. If you want all the best gear in the game, you do everything in the game. If you want, I think PvP and PvE, if you want to be the best at PvE, I think there should be a few things you can do in PvP that might help you out a little bit. Vice versa, too. I think that's what makes the game good. That's what makes it fun. I play Classic WoW, I PvP to get really badass raid gear. And then you know what I do with my raid gear? I fucking go into Warsong Gulch and I kill people with it. And it's awesome. That's the whole reason. Why the fuck do you think people care about killing Rag every week? Do you think they give a fuck about these other pieces of gear? No, they want to get Bone Reaver's Edge. They want to get their best weapon. What the hell are they going to do with their best weapon? Put it on raid bots, raid logs? No, fuck that. Nobody gives a shit about that. Like, oh yeah, wow, my sim DPS, my logs show that I'm doing a lot of damage with my 3-button class. Who gives a fuck? It's about PvP. People raid for PvP gear. That's the whole fucking purpose of it. Like, nobody gives a shit about that. Like the raid bots, everything. No, not true. It is completely true. Because here's the thing, guys. You guys have probably never parsed at like a high level before. Like I did this in a number of different patches. If you parse at a high level before, you have to be able to do it with the cooperation of your raid. So for example, if you want to be able to parse on a number of bosses, your raid has to allow you to be the primary damage dealer to certain different mobs, or to not AoE down certain mobs. So for General Nazgrim, for example, I remember back in Siege of Orgrimmar, you would try to convince your raid not to AoE down the other mobs that were with General Nazgrim. I think they're called like Orgrimmar Faithfuls or something like that. And you would allow that, you would basically be the only person AoEing them down, which would pad your meter way more than anybody else's. On top of that, like let's get another example. I have Siege of Orgrimmar. I parsed a lot back then, so I remember. Immersius. Why did I never get a good Immersius parse? Because my raid would never agree to let me be the sole person that's AoEing down all of the ads. Because if you were the only person that's AoEing down all of the ads, you are doing a ton of fucking damage. You are killing all of the ads. And if everybody AoEs down the ads, nobody will parse. And so the way you do parses is you pick 1 or 2 people to parse and you assign them the responsibilities that will yield the most damage. And that's the way it works. It's just common sense. It's like you let somebody attack through defensive stance on General Nazgrim. Same thing. You can't AoE them all down. Oh, what the fuck? They spread out? Well, no, because you have the raid grouped up. Like, you have the raid grouped up, and you let that happen, right? What is parses? Who cares about parsing? And then also, so, like, for classic parses, you're waiting on cooldowns that are half an hour long. So, realistically, you're not going to have every parse with all warriors with recklessness. So, parsing in the different fights doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter, like 90% of the time, unless you're doing like a single target fight like Hell Yeah or something like that on progression. Like after, I think probably 2 months after progression, parsing no longer matters because it's based off of the voluntary cooperation of the rest of your raid. Parsing on progression and on the first few weeks of clear and farm content, that's badass. But everything beyond that, it's not as big of a deal. Cheesing parses, yeah, of course.
A little bit simpler now, but yes, ultimately you still need to go and do this content. It's like, well, I don't want to. It's like, well, chores are the name of the game.
Chores,
and that's
yeah, it's
what
about
I'm hoping
right.
to see realistically from the next expansion isn't the setting, because a lot of people ask me like, what about the Shadowlands? What about this and that? And I was really happy to see the Reddit thread that compiled all the leaks into how many different expansions. Was it 30 plus? There are apparently going to be 30 plus WoW expansions based on all the fanfiction leaks.
Well, at least
that
the game won't die.
Over the last few months about what the next expansion will be. I don't care really about the setting. If it's a good setting, I'm happy. Sure, I'm happy. But what I care about is the gameplay. That's why I play the game, to enjoy the gameplay. And that's what I'm hoping to see, is a real simplicity added to it. A nice set-in-stone system that you should be able to pretty much understand by just looking and reading the tooltips of your character. You should be able to figure out where to go and do things and how your character works based on looking at your character. It shouldn't take more than that. It really shouldn't take people like me. I can be here to expand upon it and show you the finer details. And I would also say that we shouldn't need specialists writing massive in-depth guides on a very regular basis, because each patch pretty much changes how classes work, which in and of itself, we've not even talked about that in this little ramble of mine, is obscene. Is that every time a new 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.4, 0.5, whatever it might be that comes out, needs a new big blog post in order to explain the changes that have come with your character, as we're seeing come up here. Balancing always happens. That's fine, right? Some classes are going to get buffed, some classes are going to get nerfed.
I'm fine with some changes like this, though, personally.
And it's kind of a byproduct of having so many systems on each character that a minor change at the fundamental level, like a slight buff of a certain spell, well, that rocks into changing your Azerite and how that works, because you're now more focused on a different spell, and that then stampedes into your
you have the butterfly effect.
Choices,
that's a good point.
Now focused on a spell that works differently, and now you're going to have to change your corruption, because maybe it's not crit damage you want, maybe you want more haste now, and it filters down through all these systems, right? So you put this sort of droplet in the top, which is like, oh, monks might need a slight buff to, say, renewing mist or soothing mist, and it just goes ping, and the ripple effect is like a casino machine. When you put the coin in the top and it just goes, and out the bottom pours all this stuff from this one simple coin that you put in the top, and how it reverberates through the entire system upon system upon system upon system.
It's the butterfly effect. It's simple.
Meaning that each patch, simple little buffs and nerfs have dramatic effects on characters to the point where people just suddenly find themselves like, oh, I've got to like re-enchant, I need to swap all my essences, I need to rethink my talent choices, I need to rethink how I'm focusing my gearing efforts going forward. In fact, my entire stat weights have changed, and all this has happened because they just went, oh, monks should heal a bit more, you know? Things along those lines is what shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening, right? That shouldn't be the way it goes. It's like, I need different Azerite armor now. I need to rethink my gemming. I need to suddenly go to the auction house and just buy a load of shit because it's all changed. And I see increasingly, certainly when I talk to ex-players of World of Warcraft, that this is increasingly becoming a problem. And we could talk about the daily chores, and I know I spoke about it recently in a video, is how many people are so tired of, like, I have a couple of hours to play a night.
And you already know what you're going to spend your time doing.
Either 50% or 100% of that time taken up by doing my daily chores in order to keep up.
You know how much daily chores I have for this fucking game? I have so goddamn many of them. I put them on a fucking whiteboard. Look at that. Read that shit. Najdatar on Horde, Mechagon, Arachnid Harvester, Garden for your garrison, That's to get the items. Blacksmithing, daily crafting. That's for my lightning steel ingots. Kufan, I got that one actually. Direhorn Horde, Seething Shore, Najjatar, Battle for Najjatar. Those are the times that it's going to be available, right? And that's it's only like a partial list. It's only a partial fucking list. And that's what I've got. I literally have it all written on a whiteboard. I have more organization for my in-game activities than I do for my real life. This is a full-time job. I spend more time organizing that than people do for their fucking lives. It's insane, man. And that list should be longer, too. By the way, like, that's not even counting, like, all the transmog gear I need to farm, doing Sea of the Triumvirate. I have Sea of the Triumvirate? No, I don't have it on there for doing the extra toy. Have to do it on Heroic for my extra characters. There's, like, 20 fucking things I need to do. This is your job? Trust me, before I streamed, I played it like that, too.
I would rather it be I log in and do something I want to do.
Yeah.
And I know there'll be people that's like, well, just do that. But the reality of the situation is...
You feel like you're setting yourself
certainly
back.
In early game, if you don't log in and start farming reputation for Champions of Azeroth or Honorbound, or to get your AP levels up so you can actually use your Azeroth armor. If you don't log in and do daily quests, world quests, and island expeditions and things that you might not enjoy, with that limited time you have to play, then you're just falling further and further behind, and you very quickly end up in the scenario I know many of you did, which is where you're getting Azerite armor that just doesn't work. It's just you can't activate anything on it, or you're just unable to unlock the heart, or you're hoping for some catch-up quest to eventually arrive, and until then you've got some sort of scuffed character that's rolling around with you, and all these kind of things. And you want your neck upgrade, but I literally just have to do daily quests over and over again. But I don't want to do that with my time. I want to rock some BGs. I want to do a couple of dungeons with my friends. Maybe I want to dedicate a night to raiding, but what I can't do is do a night of raiding, add a couple of hours in order to do the preparation. That is another big problem that I hope goes away. So that's where I'm at going into BlizzCon. A little bit of a ramble there and a lot of things. It's not really specific and to the point like most videos that I do, which is like, this is the focus of this video. It's more a general feeling of looking around at just how many people are utterly confused with a lot of the things that have changed in the game. And then when you really think about it,
it's confusing.
Like
That's why they're confused.
And every single patch changes quite a lot of things or adds a brand new system. And players
it's the whole
just
reason.
Like, I haven't got all day to sit and read forums, and I shouldn't have to. I haven't got all day to keep a day-to-day, up-to-date log of every change that Blizzard makes and read in detail these massive, lengthy posts. Or watch every single video that somebody puts out from whoever, and watch streams. I can't dedicate
why not?
7-8 hours hours of the day to trying to keep up with
just watch my
everything
stream,
that's
man.
happening
Come
in
on.
WoW. I want it to be nice and simple. And if I do have time to ask a question, I want someone to explain it to me in a very simple way. So that's one of the big things that I'm hoping for out of the next expansion, and certainly hoping that BlizzCon reveals something along that side with that. One of the biggest horrors I could see of the new expansion is them announcing again what I would really not like to see on the stage when BlizzCon or whenever they announce the next expansion, if it is at BlizzCon or somewhere else, is that they go, and now we have a brand new system because we're taking away Azerite armor. Now we've got artificial Zerite system, which
artificial Zerite? Don't give them any ideas.
You're going to be able to go and farm.
Don't give them any ideas.
But we've time gated it, and just come up with another ludicrous system to replace the current system. What I'd like to see is we're going to simplify this shit. We're going to simplify it down.
Really? Wow.
Right,
that'd be nice.
I'll see you again. Bye bye.
Well, how about that? They just make it simpler. That'd be crazy. Okay. I actually think this is a really, really well done video. I think that honestly, I like watching those types of videos because I can pause them and I feel like I'm having like a conversation with Preach and I'm talking with you guys. I love the ramble videos. I think they're probably some of my favorite videos to react to because I can just sit there and talk about them. I like that a lot.